Hi everybody, I'm very pleased to announce today about the launch of our new tool called the HubSpot Traffic Analytics Validator tool. It evaluates the URL to show you exactly how that traffic to that URL will be categorized under HubSpot Traffic Analytics report. This ties basically into the article present here in HubSpot Knowledge Base, where you see how they explain how the traffic sources are recognized by the traffic analytics report in HubSpot. And here you can see that whenever somebody clicks on a certain link to your website, HubSpot will automatically categorize that traffic under these various categories of organic, social search, or paid social search, or email marketing, or direct traffic, or none. And so how this works is basically there is a bunch of 14 rules that HubSpot has outlined here that they use to categorize them in these various categories. And in our tool at TrackFunnels, we have built these rules inside of the tool so that you don't have to worry about how something was categorized, and you can be prepared well in advance before you launch your promotional links out to your audience, and you would be aware and informed in advance how that traffic would be categorized. Now, the benefit of doing that is since you know before starting the promotion how your traffic would be categorized, you are also able to make any changes if required, right? So that's a huge benefit, because once the link is out there, you cannot do anything. I mean, you can change the link later on, but then already some of your traffic would fall into probably a wrong source. So I think that um, the tool is very handy for people who care about the cleanliness of their analytics and the traffic sources, especially people who are analysts who are very particular about their attribution reports. So the tool is very simple, as you can see from this little form right here. And the most important thing is basically the destination URL, which is the only mandatory field here. What you have to do is just add the URL that you have where you are sending traffic to in here, and then click on evaluate URL, and it will evaluate the parameters in the URL and display the results in your traffic analytics report. So let's do a few examples so as to make it really crystal clear on how this works. So I have a bunch of URLs here, and we'll go to the first one. And as you can see here, I have a UTM. I'm using 3 UTM parameters here just for the sake of simplicity, but of course you can have as many parameters as you want, as long as there are UTM parameters, and as long as there are some parameters which can be evaluated by HubSpot. Basically the result will be displayed here. And so let's see. So in this URL, we have UTM source Instagram, UTM medium social, and UTM campaign year-end sale. So when you click on evaluate URL, you would see that it displays the results right here, and it says that if any traffic comes to this particular link, your HubSpot traffic report will show this or categorize this under organic social. And it also shows you what rules were matched. So out of the 14 rules that we saw, it shows you the rules that got matched with this particular URL. And you can, of course, cross-check if those rules are really true or not based on the table that you have at the HubSpot article. One other thing is that you also see all the query parameters that were found in your URL right here. See and make sure that there are no spelling mistakes or things like that. Okay, that one of the things in these rules is also referral URL. So if there's any traffic coming from a referral URL with some UTM parameters in the link, then those can also be determined based on the inbuilt rules that we have. So for example, if I take a look, if I use this URL, the next one in my list here, where I've changed UTM source to something else, and the 2 other parameters remain the same, UTM medium social and UTM campaign year-end sale. And so let's first evaluate this, what will happen. So you see, so this one got evaluated into rule number 8, so other campaigns, which means that none of the rules none of the 7 rules before this were matched, and so um, the the only rule that got matched with it is the other campaigns rule, right? And these are the checks that were performed on this result. And if I add a referring URL of a social media site, for example, Instagram or Facebook or whatever, and I evaluate that, then you can see that it immediately changes the um, results to organic social. And how do we recognize these social media sites is also based on the list of all the social media networks that HubSpot has provided, which they believe are social media networks. So it is their list, and they might change this list in the future, which is fine as well, because we'll try to keep it updated in our tool as well, so you don't have to worry about all of that. And so if I go into the next one, for example, where I've changed all 3 and added an extra parameter of source. So we have this extra parameter of source equals CPC. So let's see what happens. And here you have UTM source, something else, anything, and UTM campaign year-end sale. But the source is CPC here, and I'll just keep the referral URL right like that for now to see what happens with the result. And you can test your own knowledge as well here. So what do you think will happen in the result? Now, according to me, what will happen is, okay, let's see, I'm not saying anything. So evaluate URL. All right, so it evaluated into paid search, even though I have a referral URL of Instagram, because what it sees is the source is CPC, right? So it's checked for the source parameter, and source parameter contains CPC. It immediately realizes that this is probably a paid campaign being run on Instagram. It doesn't matter if it was on Instagram or wherever, because you don't have enough information here about the information about a social media platform is not present in the parameters, and that's why referral URL is just totally ignored. And it just takes source equals CPC as the parameter to basically display that or evaluate into that result, which is paid search. If I remove this, of course, it won't change, because that's the only rule that is being checked right now. And you can see that the query parameter source is CPC is also now can be found here. So I have other URLs as well. One of the other interesting URL that I wanted to also show you is the one with gclid. So if you have traffic coming from Google AdWords with auto tagging enabled, you will see that that can also be evaluated. You can just pop in your URL into this field here and then click on evaluate URL, just like we did for the others. And you say that it recognized it to paid search, and it also shows you the checks it performed. It found the gclid parameter. The value is right here, and even though now we have a source parameter, but it gets totally ignored because this takes precedence. The rules that HubSpot mentions here, these 14 rules, are based on the precedence. So if the first rule stands true for your URL, then only that rule gets applied, and automatically the traffic is categorized under the result for that particular rule. So irrespective of whether you have the rest of the rules also being true to your URL, it doesn't matter, as long as the first one, and so it goes in this order. And that's the reason that in the previous example where I showed you, the source parameter was CPC, which is rule number 2. The thing your URL got evaluated as paid search and not as paid social, because paid social is only in rule number 4, right? So if you go back now here, the other thing that we have done here is that if you have like an incorrect, if you have something like very short ID here, then we display that the gclid parameter does not appear to be valid, which is sort of like a nice to have in case you are you get a wrong URL somehow. Yeah. Okay, if we evaluate the next URL, then let's see what happens here. We have UTM source Instagram, UTM medium CPC. So this one is pretty easy. We all know that this would go under paid social, right? Because you have CPC and you have Instagram. Instagram is a recognized social media site. So as you can see, it's paid social. UTM mediums contains CPC, and UTM source matches a recognized social network, the list which I mentioned earlier. So guys, I think like this is a very useful tool before you start your promotions on various platforms to evaluate the link that you're using for a certain result in your HubSpot analytics tool. One of the things that we plan on doing in the future is that we can also enable you to adjust your URLs based on the result that you want. So right now it's like going from the URL, so you have to make the changes yourself, to the result. But we could also be able to do in the future the results. You can select the result first, and then we suggest to you the URLs, like how you could structure your URL to get a certain result. So if you're interested in that feature to be rolled out sooner, then let us know in the comments or send us an email. But otherwise, you can also subscribe to our newsletter for an alert and notification on when that feature is going to be rolled out. So I hope that you guys find this useful and start using this in your HubSpot traffic analytics. Thank you.